Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Heal Your Mind, Heal the World podcast. My name is Anne Marie Morales. Today, I have for you a dear friend of mine, Deserie Foley. She is a co-founder of Mind Nexus and Cosmic Clarity Connections, LLC. She is an advocate for human rights and has a beautiful personality to where people feel very, very comfortable with her and can feel safe. And her work is reaching tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, if not more, because the Mind Nexus institution has been featured on some very well-known alternative media podcasts. But without further ado, I welcome my dear friend Deserie to Heal Your Mind, Heal the World podcast. Welcome.
Thanks, Anne Marie. You're made to do this. Look at you.
Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you, darling. It's only 50 years of public speaking and being in front of people. So, so we met, I've often talked about my awakening, and in the very beginning of it, I was involved with this disclosure movement with alternative media for many, many years, way before COVID. And then COVID hit, and I decided to go to this conference that was, what was it now? I forgot. In North Carolina.
And disclosure.
Camp Disclosure. That's what it was. And I had heard your story before, but that's where I met you in person. And your story is absolutely fascinating. So without further ado, I'd love you to just tell us about this very fascinating life you've led.
Okay, absolutely, Anne Marie. Okay, so I want to kind of go back or start in my childhood and how I believe it all started. I was a normal child. There was no abuse or anything. I had a normal child. I had very loving parents. I mean, they weren't perfect, but they were loving. They were doing the best that they can with what they had. So I like to always say that. I had an amazing childhood. I had two parents that are still together that love each other very much. Um, so I know I've always wished that I could remember what it was like before I came here, or remember when I was, being born or something like that. I have no memory of that. I had no memory where I came from. But my first memory that I have was that I've always been a vivid dreamer. Call me a dreamer. That's my superpower. That is what I guess if there was like a psychic ability, it would be my dreams. So my first dream that I can remember that I ever had was I was very little. I can't remember the age, but I remember that there was this older older man. When I say older, I was probably say 40, and I know that's not old now, but it is for a child. And he used to push me on swing. And at that time, I only could call him Jesus because I didn't have any other way to call him. I don't know if that's who it was, but that's who I said it was, and that who. So I remember I used to tell my mom, I said, Mom, I have Jesus comes and he pushes me on the swing. And she was like, Oh, that's really cool, because my mom was always a vivid dreamer as well. And then I would say I was like 6 or 7, or even maybe even 8. It was in Banning, California, because I grew up in California, and we were living in like this like duplex. Oh no, I'm so sorry. It's a lot to go back. It was actually a house. It was a house that had 2 bedrooms, and it had a living room. And I remember when I went to sleep, my mom and dad slept in the living room. Sometimes they would like to veg out and sleep on the living room. I don't know where my brothers were. That's one thing I don't remember. They must have been spending the night at a friend's house or whatever, but my brothers weren't there. So the memory that I have, which I can like, even when I'm telling you, I can still see it as if it just happened yesterday. So I'm laying in the bed, very young, and I remember there was these 4 or 5 blue transparent beings that came into my room. And when they walked into my room, I remember seeing them, and I remember I was able to see through them. It was like almost like you could see through water, but yet it's still, it's like a still like a moving motion of a blue transparent being. They didn't have faces. You couldn't make out a face, you couldn't make out male or female or anything like that. It was more just energy. And once I saw them, I was like, okay, I need to, even though they were beautiful and everything, I still wanted out of there. Like I don't know who these what this is. And then that's when I realized I was paralyzed.
Mm.
I wasn't able to move. So I just laid there as these beings were in my room, and one walked over and sat on my bed. And I remember that I was looking, I couldn't talk either. I was paralyzed. I couldn't talk, but I remember thinking, who are you? You don't look like Jesus. I remember that I had said that, because that's all I was able to refer to. And the being thought it was amusing that I said that. It was almost not, it wasn't even it was almost like a little laugh amongst them why I said that. And then I was laying in the bed. I got picked up like to sit up on the bed, and the being tells me, "I love you." And
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and then I told him back with my mind because I couldn't talk. I told him back that I loved him too, but I didn't know why I said that because I didn't know who this being was. It was almost like a higher self, a higher consciousness of me said I love you back, because it wasn't really me who said it, but it was me.
Yes. Yes.
So
Wow.
after this experience, they had let me down and back into my bed, and then they had, I don't know if they had left or if they left, because when I opened up my eyes, I started screaming for my mom. And I don't think they left only because I can still see them. I started screaming for my mom. My mom comes and gets me, and I'm telling her what happened. And I said, they're in the room. And, she's like, okay, okay. So she pulls me into the living room to go sleep with them. And I remembered this, and I'll never forget it, that I was opening my eyes like this, and I couldn't see them. But the moment I closed my eyes, there they were. Ooh, I just got the chills.
Mm.
Um, they were in another dimension almost, and I can see them with my mind, but I can no longer see them with my eyes. And I was like, I remember keeping my eyes open, and I put the blankets over my head because I didn't want to see them. I didn't want to see them. I was like, leave me alone, leave me alone. I didn't know. And so that memory always stood with me, and I to this day believe that it was my soul family, maybe where I come from, or the family that I'm with all the time, who I choose to be with when I'm not in this dimension. Speculation, I don't know, because I don't have. It's more like a feeling that I feel about those beings. So fast forward a little bit, and I started to get a little bit older, and me being, going to school, wanting to fit in with the other kids, wanted to be popular. I tried really hard to be popular. And I would try to dismiss all of this stuff over here. Like, I don't want to deal with the dreams. I don't want to deal with this, I don't want to deal with any of this. And I remember I met this girl. She was my childhood best friend, but I met her. I met her like I was 12. I was 12 years old. And again, we were trying to be the popular girls. And I remember she was going to church, and she was going by herself, which can't even imagine why, what the heck me and another girl, two 12-year-olds by ourselves is randomly going into a church, but we did. Back then, we had a little bit more freedom, you can trust your kids, doing more things back then.
Mhm.
But so I went into this church, and it was a born again Christian church. I don't know what you would call that. There's a word for it.
Pentecostal?
It
Pentecost?
was something
Something like
like that.
that.
It was a born again Christian church, and I remember going in there, and it wasn't the first time that we were going. We'd go and then we would leave and then we'd go, and then one time we went over there, and the pastor's like, "Who would like to get saved?" And I was like, "I'll get saved, sure, let's go get saved, because I walk over to the pastor, and he, puts his hand on me, does his prayers and stuff. Anne Marie, that was the first time I ever felt God. Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Um, because all that other stuff that I had experienced as a child, I kind of just brushed off, or didn't really, it didn't really change me. Um, when he put his hand over me, and I felt this presence of a God, of source energy. I remember I instantly started crying, and I started crying, and I was like, he's real. This is real. This whole thing is real. Like what am I doing? Why aren't we doing more about this? Like, why aren't we being told more about this feeling of, because he's here, and it was almost like I met him for the first time. Obviously, I didn't, but I thought I did. I was a kid. I was 5 years old, and I felt his presence.
Mhm.
And then that's when I knew that he was real, that there was something to this. There was something going, I needed to focus. I needed to chase it. I wanted more of it. I needed more information of it. And I was still very young. And so after I had found that, the guy was real, that there is more to all this. Um, I continue to have multiple dreams and experiences where I guess you would say I would get paralyzed, and I would have these beings that would come in. There was different kinds. They were not all the same. And it's not all love and light, where it was all these angelic beings that would come through. I would get the negative ones too, that would um that would come and visit me, just as much as equal as the light beings that would come and visit me.
Mhm.
And the dark ones, when they would come visit me when I was young, um, I don't really like to give them any kind of power or anything like that, but it is part of my story. When they would come and visit me when I was younger, they would offer me um, fame, and they would offer me wealth, and all I had to do was marry one of them. So they had offered me. I One particular time, I was in bed. I was laying in bed, and this very handsome man walks up to the foot of my bed, and I'm paralyzed, and he comes in. He tries to comfort me. Very handsome, and when I looked, he had the hoof of a pig, and
Wow.
that's what he had, and he put it on my bed, and to wake me. And when he did that, he like took me to this mansion, and this is, I must have drifted into a dream. Obviously this is not happening, like, this live in this dimension. This
Mhm.
was a dream now. So once, because I was like taken into this dream, and I was in this mansion with all of these very attractive women. I mean, very attractive, and they were all in bikinis, and they're all having fun, and they're like, yeah, they're rich, they're famous. And I'm in there, and he's like letting me know that's what my life will be like if I marry him. And I told him, I said, I started like paying attention to the women, and I said, they're not happy. There's something missing in them, And I saw it, so I started running from the mansion. I started running in the dream from the mansion, and then the being finds me, and he sits me down in on this bench. And as I'm sitting in the bench, everything else behind me was like a blur. It was like a blur, like all this mist and like dust and dirt flying, but it was a blur going on. And I sat down with this being, because he was a being. I sat down with him, and he goes, "I'll let you ask me any questions you want to ask me." And I did. I asked him a few questions, and he answered me. And then he looks at me and says, "Now, does your God ever let you ask him questions?" And then I immediately woke up.
Wow. Can
Yeah.
you, just to ask, how old were you at this point?
This was still my early teens.
Okay,
This
so
was like, yeah.
you were visited for how many years? From
I, w-
11 years? How many years?
I, w- I, s- I've been visited since I was a child. It hasn't stopped.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it hasn't stopped. I probably have over 100 different stories that I can tell you on everything that's happened to
Interesting.
me just
Wow.
growing up as a child, and even into my early teens. And I'll tell one more story, actually two more stories, because the
Mhm.
second story is going to go into what I'm about to say next. Okay, so we're gonna fast forward until I'm 20, no, 19. I was 19. I had my first apartment. I lived by myself. I did have a son. I do have a son, not did, but I had a little boy, but he wasn't with me at the time, at this time. So I was in my bed, and I was dreaming. This was a dream, and it was in my apartment, and there was this boy that was standing at the foot of my bed. And I look at him and I said, "You can't be here. This is my space. You need to leave. You can't be here." And he was like, "But I used to live here. My name is David, and I used to live here, and I've been watching you. I'm watching you." And I got up out of the bed and I followed him, and he had this photo album, and he's like, he's going through it like that. And as he's going through this photo album, it's my whole life and all of my memories and all my experiences. And he was going through it. Like he was like, I can't even explain it. There's no words to explain what he had, and what, he had like access to my experiences.
Wow.
And I told him, I go, "You can't stay here. You got to go." And I'm yelling at him, I need him to leave. And, because I'm thinking this is real. I'm not knowing that I'm in a dream. And then finally, he goes, "I'm gonna go and throw stuff around in your kitchen," right? So he went in the kitchen, he started throwing stuff around, and then all of a sudden I heard uh some kind of pot fall in my kitchen, and it woke me up for real.
Wow.
Okay. It woke me up for real. I'm 100% awake.
Hmm.
And as I'm like processing everything that just happened, Anne Marie, he sat on my bed.
Huh.
Okay. He sat on my bed, and I went into shock. Um, I don't know how long I was in shock. I don't know. They did have to break down my door to get to me. Um,
Whoa.
I I checked out. I checked out. I don't know how long I was gone. But it was so scared that I left. And it really, like, I remember when I kind of like started to come back, and I was stuck. I couldn't move because I was petrified.
Right.
I remember calling someone on the phone saying, "I need help, but I can't get out. I can't move. I can't move." So they end up having to break down the door to get to me. And so I knew when that was happening to me, I knew that there is this other dimension, and they may not access us the way that we would know or understand. But I knew when that person, he was in my apartment, he was in my apartment.
Mhm.
Oh, I know that one. I'll never forget it. Like I can't even believe that I went into shock. I was scared so bad that I literally left my body. I'm going to let my
Yeah,
dog out real quick.
sure.
Okay.
Well, just to add on to that from what the experience that from what I understand about these realms and about the mind actually itself, uh, it's almost as if that these alternate dimensions are just right here. They're
Hmm.
just right on top. And they're what you can access in there, these realms, whether they be called dream realms or whether they be called astral realms, uh, they're very real. They do exist. And in terms of the mind, the mind wants to protect us. Okay, so
Hmm.
whenever we have this kind of traumatic shock, you've heard about it. It's dissociation. Like you said, you just like you are out. Do you have any recollection of time when you saw that entity sitting on your bed and you said do you remember anything that could have gone through your mind, or did time pass and you not know it? I'm just, clinic, just very interested in that.
Yeah. I don't remember, but it's funny though because I can remember seeing through them and I can remember seeing like our Nintendo. I know that's
Oh,
weird.
uh-huh.
Like, but that's a big memory of mine is being able to see through them. And also I noticed that I can see our
Mhm.
Nintendo console.
Funny. And what about the experience when you were older in your apartment? What was that? Were you aware of time when you kind of
No,
checked out?
I don't remember the time, and I also don't remember how I don't know how long I was in shock.
Hmm.
I all I know is that when he sat on the bed, it scared me so bad
Mhm.
that I checked out, and it's almost like I was scared so like my brain couldn't process
Right.
what is happening because a dream's one thing, but for it was I couldn't see it, but it was they sat on my bed and as I'm laying in my bed and there I was the only one there. I lived by myself. There was nobody else
Mhm.
there with me. So I just know from then I knew that my dreams are real.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just a typical dream. I knew that there was something real to these dreams. So um okay, so like I have millions of those kind of stories, but I'm going to tell the next story because it's going to go into what I do now and kind of leads into my life now.
Hmm.
Okay, so I was married. No, I wasn't married yet. I was with the person that I was going to marry. But I didn't know I was gonna marry him. Let me shut the door real quick.
Hmm.
So I was dating this guy, and we were having some issues. I think we were dating for like a couple years, maybe even a year. We were very young, and we were kind of going through a breakup, and we were like, "Oh my God, we love each other, but it's not working out." So this is probably going to be the last night. We're gonna figure out what because I know that we were living together, but we were breaking up. We didn't have any kids together or anything like that, and I remember crying and he was crying too. He loved me and I loved him. It just there was some issues that were happening that just wasn't working. So we're laying in bed and I go into that state, I guess you can call it, we're in a state where I'm paralyzed and I see this monster light like this it's almost like the sun came in but it didn't burn your eyes. Okay, so the sun came in and oh my God, Anne Marie, every kind of love that you can think of, all of it, the way you love your children's, the way you love your mom, your pets, even the way you love your husband, all towards one being times infinity
Oh,
comes into the room and immediately I start screaming but not with my mouth because I can't talk. I'm screaming in my mind, take me with you. Don't leave me here. Take me. And I'm like hysterical because
Wow.
I can't not let this being not take me. Like I have to go with them. And even as I'm talking, I'm getting chills. This light being told me and said, I'm not here for you. I'm here for him.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And I started not understanding what the being was telling me, but he had said that I'm not for you. I mean, for him, he didn't say him, he said the individual's name. Okay. And I said, I, I I didn't know what this was back then. I mean, I didn't even think it was Jesus. I saw this as God. Like this was a different than all the other beings that I've ever saw. And uh the moment that the being left the room, I remember I instantly woke up and I started throwing myself against the wall. He left me. He left me here. And I'm screaming, and the person next to me was like, "What is wrong with you? You know, what is wrong with you?" Like, and I'm crying. I'm like, "I can't believe it left me. It left me here. I'm stuck here. I don't want to be here." Like, I mean, I didn't want to be here. Um, and then he's explained to me what happened. And I remember sitting on the floor with him, and I looked at him and I said, God wants you to know he's here for you. He starts crying. He
Oh,
starts crying and says, because he was an atheist, that because of the breakup, he prayed to God that night and said, if you're real, I need you to prove it to me. So that's
wow.
pretty much what kept us together. There was something in this union of us sticking together. There was something that was going to come out of this union that we weren't supposed to leave each other. And I think if we didn't have this intervention, that um and and then to know that this relationship would forever change my world
Hmm.
in and
Wow.
not in a positive way.
Okay.
Okay, so we ended up staying together, and he went from an atheist to an agnostic. So that was pretty positive to know, because it was a big thing that, he didn't believe in God and I did, and it was, kind of like, he didn't want religion or anything, with the kids or anything like that. That's what he used to say, and I'd be like, oh, but it completely changed his mind because he's like, how would that even happen if there wasn't something real out there? So that that's probably my favorite experience. Like whatever that was, I want
You
more of
want
that.
it.
Yeah. That was a whole
Amazing.
different kind of level. Um
Amazing.
yeah, so um fast forward, I was married for about 10 years. Um I'm gonna kind of skip a little part because I don't want to place blame on anybody, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna skip a little bit apart. And I could say this. One thing I can say about my marriage is that we both did things. We both did things. I'm not trying to say that I'm any kind of a saint. I'm not trying to say that I was, the best wife ever. I did some really crappy stuff too. Some stuff that maybe would have warranted him hating me.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to like say that and every day I feel guilty about it. I have to forgive myself for the things that I've done in the past. I do like it literally when it comes to my mind, I say, Desiree, you got to forgive yourself. You didn't know what you know now, and if you did, you wouldn't have done the things that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say about 2013. Okay, so it was about 2013. Were married probably about 10 years, 9 or 10 years or something. Or we're together like 10 years and married for like 9 or 8.5. Um, things weren't going good for us. They were very rocky. Things were, just there was just like a lot of like just bizarre things going on. And I remember around this time, I remember I started getting, I guess you would say, attacked by demonic beings,
Mm.
where they would come and they would hold me down, and they would hold me down into the bed, and I would, like, scream and call Jesus's name out, and they would change my voice into a demonic voice where I was yelling out Jesus' name demonically. These
Wow.
were some tough things that I was fighting against.
Wow.
And it was like holding me down, and I told him, I said, I can't get this stuff, like, it's like it's gonna make me go crazy. I'm gonna go crazy if I don't stop this. Like, I gotta stop this from happening. I don't know. So I remember he had brought me home a white light prayer, which I thought it was weird. I was a hardcore Christian. Okay, so of course I'm like, this is witchcraft. So I was hardcore Christian, so he brought me that, and I thought that was odd. I was just like, okay, I'll go ahead and do this. Like, it was almost like a spell, but it was like a positive one. I don't know. Like, it was something new for me, because I was a Christian. Christians don't do stuff like that. So I ended up doing it, and it did help.
Mm.
It did help. The beings stopped attacking me at night. It was a protection prayer. It was a protection,
Okay.
and I was just like, oh, that's, what what does he know? How do you know this? Um, and so the he started to, like, tell me that, like he started to, like, to tell me that he was concerned for myself, that he believed that there was something wrong with me. And, I believed him. I was like, okay, maybe there is, maybe there is something wrong. So I remember when I would say 2013, 14, I remember the first time I heard it. I was laying down in the bed, and I'm awake. I'm not asleep. I'm not in that other dimension. And this being comes from the side for me, and she starts to talk to me. And I can feel her, sense her, see her, and I knew that she was there. And I was like, okay, like, I know that there's something wrong. Like, I know this is not normal. Normal people don't experience this stuff. So I said, okay, so I'm gonna go see a doctor. I'm gonna go and see a doctor. And I did. I went to go see a doctor, and I kind of watched what I said, because, I just knew, like, doctors today are not going to understand these kind of experiences. So, fast forward, we decided to go through a divorce. And when we went through this divorce, I was pretty broken, even though I loved that man. I did. I loved him. Okay. I knew I had to leave him, but I also loved him. And so I left. Um I left him, and the night before the night before I left him, I I had was beginning to think that there was, like, something happening to me physically, not spiritually, physically. I started, like, saying that somebody was breaking into my house, and I was like, I don't know, like things were being moved around my house. Things would things weren't, like, out of place. And there was one particular day that I woke up, and I wasn't paralyzed like I was, like, normally with the entities. I was paralyzed from the waist down. I wasn't able to move my legs at all. I called 911. Called 911. The the ambulance came, and then they took me, and I told the that I believed that I was being poisoned, like somebody was poisoning me.
Wow.
And they said, no, they don't want to believe me, da, 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 but because my potassium was so low, that they were going to go ahead and do a toxicology report on me. So they did a toxicology report, and as all this is happening, I see that, like, police there, the police were there and everything, and I got scared, and I got up out of the bed, and I left. I left out of the whole situation, and I left, and I went home. I did have a police officer knock on my door and said, "Why did you leave?" And I go, "Well, I don't know if you guys were going to find anything, and I couldn't take the chance of you guys putting me away." And he said, "Desiree, they found an unidentified toxin in your body."
Wow.
And yeah, and I said, "Well, they're going to send you to the CDC to find out what it is because it's unidentified. They can identify what it is." And I was like, "See, I knew it. Like I knew it. Like I'm not like something is happening to me. There's somebody that there's something happening to me." And then I remember that day I was really scared. I was really scared and I was like now I felt like my life was, like somebody was going to hurt me or kill me. I didn't know and I know now. So what I was being given was a formula for self-assembly, self-replicating nanotechnology. And I'll get more into it on how I figured all this out, but that's what that's what they were giving me. And it does hurt. You can feel it. It hurts the bones. The bones will start to feel like you have been gay from the bones.
Mm.
It also makes your body feel numb, like fizzy numb when you're given the dose of the formula. Sorry, let me get some water.
Take a break. No problem.
Okay. So I didn't know at the time. I went to the CDC. I did a panel of all these poisons and they all came out negative. And then it was like no one seemed to care, no one seemed to care. And plus I wasn't acting normal either because I was all over the place with everything. I was scared, I was paranoid. I knew that there was something happening to me and I couldn't understand what was happening to me. Um, so I had went home and I was like, okay, I need to move. I need to move. And I called a friend over to help me move. And he was there and he was helping me. And I remember I was pacing, I was going back and forth, and I said, it's probably a bunch of devil worshippers doing this to me. And I said that, and my crucifix flung off my wall, Anne
Oh
Marie.
my goodness.
Yeah, it flung off my wall with that other individual there with me. And we both ran out of the house. We both ran out of the house. And he's like, "Holy shit, you're not lying. There's something." It's almost like it almost felt like a haunting. It was like
Yeah.
a haunting.
Hmm.
Like it's almost like that one movie, The Conjuring Part One.
Hmm.
Okay, and it gets pretty dark. Um, so he helped me move into this other place, and it just started to get worse and worse. The lights were always flickering. The I remember one time the guy that was helping me had went over to the house and told me that the lights were flickering, and he went to go unplug the lamp, and it wasn't even plugged in,
Oh,
and it was flickering. The house would go zoom, zoom, and then another thing I would notice is that the walls would breathe. They would go
oh
in
my
and
goodness.
out.
You're describing the Amityville horror. I mean,
Yes.
this is demonic infestation.
Mhm.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Oh
It,
goodness. I had no idea,
yes.
Desiree. This is,
Oh my God.
oh my God.
Yeah, this is Emery, I can't even believe I survived all this. Okay, I can't even believe that I survived all this. And I mean, there is a light at the end of this tunnel out of this story, but
Yeah.
So, so once he had, was saying that there was some kind of poltergeist, or there was like all these, like it was almost like there was another dimension in my house,
Yeah.
and they were able to just access me at any time they wanted, and they were coming into this dimension whether I was awake or not awake. They didn't even care if there was people there. They would allow them to see it too, but not the physical part, but the like the lights, or sometimes the orbs or whatever would be in the house. So we're going through all of this, and I'll never forget this day, Emery. I'll never forget this day. I was in my house, and I was a smoker at the time. I don't smoke anymore. I stopped smoking cigarettes, but I was a smoker at the time. And I went, I smoked a cigarette, and then I said, I'm going down. I'm going down. They're putting me down right now. So I called my friend. I called my friend. I said, I go, you need to come. You need to come quick. I said, I'm going down. They're putting me down, and I need you to come get me. Um, so she comes in to get me. She comes in to get me, and when she does, um, boom, I'm out. They hit me with a frequency or whatever, but they were taking me out.
Okay.
Um, she had she had taken me over to her house, and she had taken me over to her house. I don't remember how I got there, but I was at her house. In the middle of something, I woke up in the middle of a bunch of people like talking and walking around, and then I fell back asleep because no matter what I did, I wasn't able to wake up. I don't necessarily believe that the girl was involved, but I woke up with cuts inside my mouth. They
Oh, wow.
cut me inside of my mouth. I didn't know at this time, but I'm pretty sure I can speculate that it was some kind of syringe or needle that they stuck in my neck to put more formula into me. Okay. So I had these sores in my throat because they injected it in the throat so I couldn't see it or I couldn't get to it or whatever. And I went back to my house, and my house smelled like a tarp, like there was tarps, like it just had this plastic, and nobody else was there, so it shouldn't have smelled like that. So I when I went back into the house, I was like saying, I can't live like this. I can't live like this. And I remember pacing pacing back and forth. And I remember going into the closet, rocking myself, saying, you gotta stop, you gotta stop. It just has to stop. Um, So when all this was happening to me, my brother is a pastor. Well, he had told me, I told him, I said, I'm under attack somehow. There's this portal in my house, and these demons are coming, and they're torturing me, they're tormenting me, they won't let me sleep, they keep me up the whole entire night. They like to push me, they'll do like all these like stuff to me, and I'm like telling him all this stuff, and he's like, Desiree, I need you to go and see this pastor. So I went to go see this pastor. And I went and I started seeing him, and I started talking to his wife and kids and everything. So I was going and seeing them, and I would like sit in the back and kind of like mind my own business because I'm scared, and I was always scared no matter what time of day it was, I was scared. And I remember one day, without my permission, by the way, I didn't ever give permission for this. And I say that because I don't know if I would have, but I'm very thankful it happened, but I didn't give permission. They decide that they want to do an exorcism on me. Okay. Um, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take a breath. I just want to tell you, I am, I am so, I don't know what to say. I've known you and I've not known this part of your story. So this is new for me too. And I'm just wrapping you with such love because you know I love
Thanks.
you. You know how much I love you.
Thanks,
So
Emery.
thank you. Thank you for this.
Okay. So I was sitting there, and they I don't know why they did this, but they decided they were going to announce everything that was I was doing wrong in my life and what brought all this on me.
Ooh.
Um and like I said, I wasn't like this horrible person like what they were describing. I mean, I wasn't like, but they were like describing like announcing my sins or whatever. And it was embarrassing. And I started crying, and I remember them walking all behind me, and then they started speaking in tongues, and they had their hands on me, and they're speaking in tongues, and I'm crying not because I feel the Holy Spirit. Okay, I'm not crying. I'm like, oh my God, I was crying because I was embarrassed, and I'm sitting there crying, and I'm in the chair. I don't want to get up, and I remember my eyes are closed, and I all I can see is darkness. My eyes are closed, this being, this light being comes into my mind's eye. He walks up to me and he goes like this, like that with his hand, or something that looked like a hand. It wasn't a hand, but he went like this. And Marie, something came out of me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was something in me. And something came out of me and I remember just going like limp. My body went limp. And instead of like saying thank you, I ran out of the church. I ran out of the church. And I had a friend with me, that same friend that was like helping me. And as I'm running, I'm crying. I'm mad. I'm mad because I don't understand what just happened. Because I didn't get permission for that. And I was in the car and I noticed everything looked like it was in 3D, high definition. The colors were brighter. There was this I mean, I can't even explain it. It was like this darkness was lifted off of me. And I didn't understand what was happening just yet. And so I'm crying, I'm upset. I don't know. Like I'm just saying like I need to get home, and the girl was with me, and she was there with me. We were sitting down, right? And I said, that demonic being is still here. It's still here. It's not in me anymore, but it's still here. And right when I said this, I guess, being was inside the curtains, and it started to move in on both of us. It started to like move, like it was like there was a body inside of the curtains, and it
Wow.
started to move. And I remember my friend started crying, and she goes, "Oh my God!" And I was just like, "Don't be scared. That's what it wants.
Right.
It wants that fear from us." And I said, and it's so funny though. This is the funny part is I went behind the other curtain, and I went behind it and I said, "Look, I can do it too," right?
Ah.
I really did, Anne Marie. I
Wow.
said, "Look, I can do it too," right? And I mean, I don't know why I did that. I shouldn't be mocking anybody, but I was kind of like saying, "Oh,
Mhm.
you're a big scary dude." And that was hilarious that I did that. And so when when that happened, I just kind of like knew like this torture and torment of these people that were poisoning me, these people that were following me, or it was a frequency. It was directed energy weapons. It was a frequency. It was almost like they wanted to hijack my mind, and they were interested in this other dimension, and they were causing this other dimension around me, where they were allowing these beings to have access in and out with me, because there was some dimension inside of my house that I knew it was there.
Mhm.
And I don't think it was natural. I think that this was put there for this experiment that they were going to do, and that they needed to keep poisoning me was not because they wanted to kill me, was because they needed to get these biosensors inside me, so they can monitor everything that was happening to me, and they can it was human experimentation. This was what this was. And they maybe found that because I was different, or my mind was different, they wanted to push me to my limits. And let me tell you something, Emery. When you're tortured, for every single day you're tortured, and you're scared every single day, and something happens to you, and what happens to you is you start to get um superhuman abilities. There's something that happens to you. I didn't know, like, if it was like God that gave it to me, or as if it was a cocktail that they gave me because they were trying to enhance abilities synthetically. I mean, I have all these different theories. I don't know. It's speculation. I don't know, but I know that that was happening. And the special abilities that I got. I don't have them now. Okay. I don't have them now. It was only when I was really tortured, when it was almost like a defense mechanism that I was given. I was able to leave my body at any time I wanted. and I would go into other people's body, but I did it to see what they were feeling. I could never know what they were thinking, but I would go into their body to see if they were there to hurt me, if they were friendly, if they were scared, or like I was able to feel anything that they felt and on this different level. I was also able to see with my eyes closed. It was almost like I was linked into this hive mind where when I closed my eyes, I was able to see uh it wasn't like colors. It wasn't like a colors. It was more like a black and gray outlining,
Mm-hmm.
almost like a computer would see, but like almost like the Matrix would see, and I would see this, I would close my eyes and I would be able to see it. And then whenever a human being would pass me, I would see their colors. They would have different colors to them.
Wow.
And so those are those abilities that I have gotten when they were torturing me. And this was like with the direct energy weapons, and also the voice to skull, also the whatever they were doing some kind of experiment with this other dimension. I really don't understand it. And I remember the last day, and I knew it was the last day that this part of the chapter was going to be done. I knew it because I was basically told.
Mm.
um so I was like saying, "Oh my God, like I think this is done. I think this is over." Like it was like a feeling. This is almost over. It's done. They're gonna leave me alone. This is done. Like they did their experiment, whatever. And I'm like happy, whatever. And I go outside of my house and I look up, and there's this this line of smoke that goes exactly like a circle around my house, the smoke, and it had these down it, squiggly lines down it. And at the time, I didn't know, but I swear to you, Emery, if I had to guess, it was some kind of cloaking ship that was above my house.
Ah, wow.
Um, yeah, like I said, speculation. I don't know. I mean, it could have been a thousand million other things, but with all the weird stuff that was happening,
Mm-hmm.
I had, like I said, is like I drew pictures of it. It just like if it's just something you would never, you yourself would never see something like this because it
Mm-hmm.
was so weird looking. Um,
So strange. Wow.
so when that happened to me, I knew it was over, and it was just only a matter of time and this went on for about 2 years until it was 2 years, and by that time I already my mind already cracked. Like there was a breaking down of my spirit, also a breaking down. How all this works is that it depatterns the brain so you can be reprogrammed. That's what this program does to you. And what everything that's happened to me didn't happen, in another dimension. This happened here. What I mean? Like I was tortured here. Um, and so when I knew that it was going to come to an end, I knew that I had to find other people like myself. And I did. I found a gentleman that worked for the NSA. He was in the Navy, or he worked for the military. Um, and he was an older gentleman. And I met him, and he told me that I'm in I guess a program where they're trying to experiment, and they're learning off by doing these horrible things to these people, and they seem to like to go after people that are gifted.
Mm.
And then I'm not, and he said it was non-consensual human experimentation, and also it was that I'm not the only one. And I thought I was. I thought I was the only one that was going through this. And I just said, how could humans be capable of doing this to another human being? Didn't they feel bad for me? Like, didn't they, like feel like this poor girl, look what we're doing to her. And I just said, no, this is satanic. This is They enjoyed my torture, and also that I was so like connected to God that they wanted to I guess they got off on it or whatever. And he said, "You're not alone. There's other people that been through this." And I said, and I knew like I have to heal myself. Like how can how am I going to ever come out of this, if I don't heal myself? And Emery, I remember every night I would cry myself to sleep because I would think about everything in my head, what it has done to me, everything. And I was just, how could these people be so evil? And every night, cry myself to sleep, cry myself to sleep, cry myself to sleep. And I kept doing it. And I'm just like, when am I ever going to be healed? Like, I can't stop crying of what happened to me. And so I remember it was 2000 around 2018. I was, or maybe 2017 maybe, I was at work. I worked in an office in the corporate world. I still work in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I worked in the office, and I remember I was walking around on my lunch breaks. I used to like do little walks around the building, and I said, I don't want to hate anymore. I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be mad. I go, me being angry and mad and pissed off is not going to hurt those people that did this to me. It's only hurting me. It's only hurting me. And I said, I gotta heal myself. I said, I can't be this doom and gloom person. Like, poor me, look what happened to me. I have to fix it.
Right.
So I joined this group where they were helping me relive my experiences and then going and saying, I forgive you. I forgive you for what you've done to me. And I began doing that. And forgiveness doesn't happen instantly. You have to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. Um, I 2000, like I'm getting healed. Like I was left alone. I was like they were completely leaving me alone. Okay, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I can get on with my life. And I was like, I'm gonna be okay. Okay, 2018. I get poisoned again. And I remember the day that I got poisoned, and I can feel it. Like I said, it's not just me like, oh my God, it's poisoned. I was poisoned again. My whole body went numb from the waist down, and I had these shooting pains going through my lymph nodes. They were like pat pat. There's a shooting pain, and I remember crying and saying, and then right when I felt it, I heard in my ear.
Oh no.
And I said, that mother effer, I know exactly who it was who did it because he was lying right next to me. And I knew it, and I started saying, "Oh my God, he hooked me back on. I'm hooked back up to the hive mind. I'm hooked. He hooked me back up." And sure enough, I was hooked back on Anne Marie. And but at this time, I knew all these people, and I met this doctor who's an expert in nanotechnology. She's a toxicologist, and she's a very intelligent woman. I told her what had happened to me. She had me send my hair follicle to her lab so she can test it. And she tested me, and it came out positive for like 5 different drugs. And the drugs were these long drugs that I can't even pronounce, right? And then I had a high amount of nanotechnology because she's an expert. She tested me for nano. I had a high amount of nanotechnology in me, and also this radioactive stuff that
Wow.
they gave me. But it was a formula that creates self-replicating, self-assembly biosensors or semiconductors. And she goes, Desiree, if they're giving this to you, you probably have something in your body. You should probably go get checked. I know this person that does these nonlinear junction scan detectors. He's out of Utah. He's certified to do this, and so I was like, okay. I went to go to see him, and sure enough, I came out, positive in the test. What the test said is that there's something there that was creating a signal that was bouncing back as a signal
Hmm.
from my body. It was all over my body, this right here, And so I had a whole body network in my body. And so I took this to the doctor and I said, well, what can I do? And she goes, well, they have to give you a dosage every so often to maintain it. So I need you to put these cotton balls into your air ducts. And I put into the air ducts and for 24 hours, and I took them off and I sent it to her lab. Those also tested positive for nanotechnology. So they were putting it into my air ducts so I can breathe it in. It goes, I guess it could absorb, by digestion or like it's so sci-fi for me, Anne Marie. Like I can't even, I don't even understand why somebody would go through doing all this stuff to somebody. So after all that, and I got all this like, information, and I was able to. Okay, so when you go to get these frequencies done, the person will do a baseline. Okay, a baseline of frequencies. So what the frequencies are, it could be like Wi-Fi, it could be the police radio station, it could be AM and FM radio station, and he'll go and he'll do a baseline, the frequencies that are always there. So when I come over to him, he took me underground to do these tests. It was in a bank vault. He took me underground. And so he did another frequency scan, and there was these I think six frequencies that came. And then when I left out of the building, he did another frequency scan again, and the frequency's gone. So those frequencies that came with me and left with me are the ones that are aimed at me, the satellite base.
Hmm.
And we were able to trace the entities that own the license to these frequencies, and we knew exactly who's doing this to us. We know exactly who's doing this. Like it came back to something like well, of course, military is it, it came back like the Air Force, Homeland Security came back with it. Oh, it came back with this tech company that is merging AIs with humans.
Oh,
There's one of the entities that are doing this. Yeah, merging AIs with humans. And so all this information that I got, I was like, okay, now I have all this information. I said, what do we do with this? What do we do? How do we give back? How are we going to fix all this? So, 2019, no, 2019, I met Jesse Beltran. I met him at I was doing a protest, which I don't do anymore, but I was doing a protest at the state capitol of California, trying to warn people of the dangers of this technology that to suppress technology that the government's hiding from us. And I met him there, and I got really close to him, and he knows my whole story, like everything about my story, and I know his whole story too. And then I met Grady at 12:12, but I have known him, I met him at 12:12, and it's kind of like I know we're like pushing an hour. I just have a
yeah.
little bit more, okay?
Okay. And 1212, for those of you who are interested, is kind of a gathering of like-minded individuals for a retreat that an acquaintance of ours puts together. So that's what that is.
So I meet Grady, and I mean I've known Grady for about 4 years. He actually saw me on a documentary, the one I did with Edge of Wonder. So he had reached out to me, and we were friends. And then Grady's my boyfriend, so I can't assume everyone knows who Grady is, but Grady's my
Mhm.
boyfriend. So I made him at 12:12, and he's a retired Air Force. He was in special ops. And he was very interested in my story. He wanted to know more. Like he was very intrigued by my story. He just wanted to know more and more because I mean I can sit here for hours and hours and tell you all kinds of stuff because I have so much experience from all this, stuff. Um, so he had said, um, you know, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back. We had said we were gonna make it official that we're gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend. Woo, right. And he he was like, okay, so I went back to Arizona. He stayed in Florida. We were only dating for not even a month, Anne Marie.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a month, okay? And all of a sudden, something happens to Grady, which Grady, if you meet Grady, he's never in his whole life had any kind of paranormal experiences. No weird stuff has ever happened to him. He's just always been curious, he's never had anything happen to him. Oh boy. Okay, so we make it official. A month later, they decide something's going to happen to him where he has missing time.
Hmm.
Okay. He has missing time. And then he started it was like 10 minutes, but that's big for him. If you ever meet him, like he's not the kind of person that, forgets things or, he has the best memory. So he lost 10 minutes of his time. He was driving. He don't know how he got somewhere. He was just, he doesn't know how he got somewhere. And then he got back and he said that he started hearing these strange sounds.
Hmm.
He started hearing like these strange like sounds, and he said, "Oh my God! I mean, they did it to me. Like there's something being done to me." And I'm saying, and I'm telling them, I'm like, oh, I don't know, like they really don't mess with people, they really don't. But it's almost like they knew. You know what I mean? It's like, why would they turn the technology on in him unless they knew something? They knew something that what we were gonna do. So I take him to meet Jesse. Jesse's already been scanning for like 10 years. He was using an RF frequency detector, which tests for frequencies around the body, which the human body shouldn't have an AM or FM frequency coming from it or within it or around it. Okay. It just shouldn't. And so he did the frequency test on him. It came out positive, and Grady's pissed. Brady's like, oh, they messed with the wrong person, right? And then I remember hiking, and I getting these screenshots like you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, that. So we decided that we were going to come together as a group, the three of us, Jesse and Grady and I, and we created this. It's LLC, it's Cosmic Clarity Connections LLC. Our brand is Mind Nexus Live. We just created it maybe 2 years ago, and Anne Marie, it is blown up. Um, I've never in a million years would ever think that our company would ever be as big as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So what your audience has to know is that we do two kinds of frequency scans. We do the RF frequency scan detector, which tests for frequencies around your person, and we do the nonlinear junction scan detector, which does it sends a harmonic echo into the body, and if there is a device in the body, it'll send an echo back. And even if it's turned off, even if you have some kind of device in your body, if it's not turned on, it'll force it to turn on. It's a very, very expensive equipment that we have. So we went and decided that we were going to start scanning all the people that that claim that this was happening to them, because there's a lot. And that's where we're at right now. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about that.
No, I think there's not very much we can say because right now, for people who may have never heard of how corporations, governments, and quite honestly, interdimensional beings can harass and just experiment unwillingly on people, they're all dumbfounded. I would like to propose that maybe we come back for a part two.
Yes,
And
I do have a lot that I left
yeah,
out to save
and I
time.
didn't know if you wanted to ask either Grady or Jesse to be a part of this. They can, if not. But there is so much more because there's more. There's light at the end of
Hmm.
this tunnel. There really is. And for those of you who have been a part of my channel for any amount of time, know that I am not afraid to talk about the dark side of what's happening because we need to know. All right. We are on a journey of revelation. Okay. These are the times of revelation, in that the unseen is becoming seen. And it's not about that we want to scare people, but information and knowledge is power. Okay. And I can vouch that this beautiful woman here is an angel.
Thank you, Marie.
So, Desiree, would you agree to come back for another interview?
Yeah, absolutely. I can go and dive a little bit more deep into the technology part of it. I have a lot of knowledge about the hive mind and how what I've done to access it with my own mind. I have a lot of information and a lot of things to share.
Well, I can't wait to schedule that with you. And so stay tuned, everybody. Desiree, I can't even thank you enough. Like I said, I've known you for years, since 2021, and now we live very close to each other, and I've never known this about you. So thank you for sharing this with me and on this podcast. And remember, this is Heal Your Mind, Heal the World. So we are all going through healing. This is one example of a type of healing that we can all do, and how you can live, survive, and thrive. And so thank you, sweetheart, for being here. I love you.
Thank you for having me. I love you too.
And we will be back at a later date. Stay tuned. If somebody wanted to contact you, where would they contact you?
They can go to our webpage, which is mindnexuslive.com. Or they can find us on Facebook too. And we're on Facebook, we're on X, we're I think Instagram. So just our LLC is Cosmic Clarity Connections LLC, but our brand is Mind Nexus Live.
Okay. Thank you. And of course, I will have the links in the description below. And thank you, everybody, for sticking out till the end. Come back for for a part 2. And thank you for listening to my podcast. My name is Anne Marie Morales. I am a certified transpersonal hypnotherapist. I am an intuitive energy healer. And you may find my offerings at AMM for Anne Marie Morales, hypnotherapy.com. Until next time.